And now Democrats want to regulate how many miles you can drive in your own car or vehicle. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, a lot to talk about today. But I mentioned this on X maybe a few days ago. There is a growing push, not just here in Massachusetts. I really want to stress this to everybody. If you think this is only in Massachusetts, believe me, I've got some swampland in Florida you may be interested in. In blue state after blue state after blue state, and even across the entire National Democratic Party, there's no other way to say it. This is lunacy. There is an insane push to ban all cars and vehicles from the road, especially gas-powered cars. And you're seeing it in New York, you're seeing it in California, you're seeing it in Illinois, especially out in the Pacific Northwest and Oregon and Washington State, and you are really starting to see it now here in Massachusetts. So listen now to this, all of you. You got to, whatever you're doing, please stop what you're doing, because this is going to be the future if we don't stop this communist takeover of the Democratic Party. So, Senate Majority Leader, this is in Massachusetts now, okay? So, State Senate Majority Leader. Now, this is not some backbencher. This is not someone who you've never heard of. This is one of the senior, most top Democrats in the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts. State Senator, Senate Majority Leader, Cynthia Cream. Please look it up yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. C-R-E-E-M. Okay? C-R-E-E-M. Has now introduced a bill that would create in Massachusetts a panel or a commission, an interagency panel or commission that literally would monitor, follow, and regulate the amount of miles that you can drive, and I'm talking personal use. The personal use of your car or your vehicle, SUV, whatever you drive. It would dictate the maximum number of miles you can drive every single day. And if you exceed that so-called maximum, let's say and they don't want it high, they want it low, say 30 miles or 40 miles, then you will be penalized. A penalty, as the French say. Okay, a penalty. They would impose a massive fine or penalty, hundreds and hundreds of dollars for every time you go literally a centimeter over the designated limit. Now, forget the fact that this is now Big Brother. Think about the totalitarian implications of this. That this is not only Big Brother watching you in your car, following you, monitoring you, where you go, how far you go, the movements of your car. But now they're going to dictate literally how far you can go in your car every single day. Weekdays, they'll give you a little bit more because your argument is you're going to work. But weekends, they're going to shorten the limit considerably. Now, she openly says, this is not where you're just deducing something. She openly says that her goal, as she put it, EVs are not enough. Electrical vehicles are not enough. To fight climate change, we have to not just limit the number of miles people can drive, but we have to then eventually ban all cars and vehicles for personal use from the road. and thereby force. The goal is to force, to coerce everybody into either taking public transportation, i.e. EV buses, or some kind of an EV-powered train or subway, or bikes. She says we have to now build a lot more bike paths. Massive infrastructure spending, but the roads now will not be for cars, they'll be for bikes. So everybody's going to have to bike. Bike to work, or bike to the grocery store, or bike to see your friends, or to see your parents, or to see your siblings, and or walk. She says walking is very good for you. I'm not kidding. Just walk. Walk miles and miles and miles. So the goal now is to get rid of all cars in the long term. Short term, limit the number of miles we can drive to fight climate change, and then coerce everybody because you're going to make it so expensive, and then eventually it's against the law to have your own car to drive, that you have to take public transportation or take a bike or walk. She also lays out in the bill, and you can look it up. The bill is, please don't take my word for it. It is S-2246. S-2246. It's all there in black and white. And I want to give a big hat tip to Mass Fiscal Alliance. They were one of the first to expose the radical, frankly insane, totalitarian nature of this initiative and this bill. Now, this is not just a Massachusetts story, because this bill is backed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This bill is backed by Bernie Sanders. This bill on a national level, they want it for every state, for the whole country. This bill is backed by Elizabeth Warren. It is backed by Ayanna Pressley, by Ilhan Omar, by Rashida Tlaib. Gavin Newsom now says this is a model for California. Kathy Hochul, as you know, has now implemented congestion pricing, which is now walloping. I mean, it is devastating middle working class commuters who have to try to get into New York, say from the suburbs, and just to try to discourage people from from driving in their cars. She's charging now a massive fee just to get on the road to get into New York City. And so now people are being forced to take the train. And she wants everybody to take the train. And of course, the price for taking a train is also expensive in New York. So what they're doing is they are dramatically raising congestion pricing, very expensive now just to get into your car and get on the road. And she's trying to now lower the cost of taking a train, the train ticket. So she's going to coerce and force everybody into public transportation. Now, the goal is to eventually ban all cars. That is at the heart of AOC's New Deal, the Green New Deal. That is what Bernie and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and the radical left of the Democratic Party say must be the future of the United States. That all cars are eventually taken off the road, and every citizen, now, it's pure communism. Outside of them, you see, we won't be able to take air travel because that's too much carbon emissions. They can fly. We can't. They can. We can't have cars. I'll tell you this, Cynthia Cream is still going to have her car. AOC drives around in a luxury vehicle. Bernie and her have been doing flying private to all of their rallies. And then when asked, well, hold on, aren't you contributing to the climate crisis? I mean, according to you, private planes are bad. Hell, planes are bad, but especially private planes. And his answer, what, you expect me to wait in line to fly United? I'm not waiting in line to fly United. I'm Bernie Sanders. I fly private. The peasants fly united. So the goal now is to force you out of your car. And eventually, like in communist China, like in many Cambodia, I'm telling you, this is what they did in Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Take people out of their cars and force everybody into a bike. All that's missing is the straw hat that you used to see in Mao's China, where everybody would be in a straw hat and they're all on their bikes, pedaling for miles and miles and miles. It is the deindustrialization of the United States. It is literally the demodernization, the technologicalization of the United States. This is going to take us back 100 years. What 100 years? We even had vehicles 100 years ago. They want to take us now to the age of the horse and buggy. Now, we have to tell these Democrats loud and clear, lay off our cars, lay off our personal freedoms now. Democrats gone wild. 619 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner sounding the alarm bell. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's happening in Massachusetts. It's happening in other states. And as I said on X a couple days ago, and I want to repeat it, please, you have to hear this. This is not a one-off. This is not some one, a crazy moonbat here and a crazy Democrat there. No. No. This is, as I said, wake up. This is the Democrats' end goal. This is what they want for all of the United States. And so here in Massachusetts, just using this as an example, Cynthia Cream, by the way, 82 years old. She's 82. She's part of the senior leadership of the Democratic Party. She's been up on Beacon Hill forever. She's from Newton. Okay, it's a Moonbatville. Liberal elites. These are limousine liberals. She represents not just a very left-wing district, but a pretty high-end district. A lot of money in Newton. A lot of wealthy people in Newton. And, and the fact that her constituents all drive fancy cars, she doesn't care. And so she's now introduced a bill. I want to repeat it for everybody. It is S2246, 2246, in which it explicitly states that there will be a panel or a commission that is created that will track the number of miles you travel in your car. And it will limit how much you can drive. If you exceed the limit by any amount, I'm talking even a millimeter, you will be fined or penalized hundreds and hundreds of dollars each time. And they're going to do this to every car or vehicle on the road. Except, of course, to them. To the politicians. To the political class. And I'm sure they're donors. But for everyone else, i.e. the peasants, no car for you. Because the eventual goal, and they're going to phase this in, is they keep making the limits stricter and narrower and stricter and narrower to the point you basically can't even get out of your own house. You drive down the end of the street and that's it. You've hit your limit. So the goal is, and she says it, electrical vehicles are not enough. We have to get these cars off the road. We're going to ban them in the name of fighting, quote unquote, climate change. And then she says, it's in the bill. We're going to create smart cities. So you see, they're going to socially engineer all of society. So, no. No one's going to be living in Boston anymore or whatever. Take your pick. Okay, whatever city you live in. No. 15-minute cities. We're going to control you. You're all going to live in small apartments. 15 minutes, either you're on a bike or you walk or you take public transportation. That's the ultimate end goal. To force everybody, again, except for themselves, They will have their limousines. They will have their, their Cadillac SUVs. Don't worry. Nothing but the best for the party. Okay, it's like Bernie. Bernie's flying around on a private jet. As he says, I don't do United. I'm not going to wait in line for United. I don't do United, as he put it. So they're going to have the private jets. They're going to have all the cars. They're going to have the mansions. They're not living in small apartments. We, on the other hand, 15-minute cities, that's the goal, on bikes, walking, or subway and buses, all EV. And blank you. No car for you. And I want to read this. This is from Rick. Someone I know, good friend of mine, who texted me on my personal cell phone. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning, Rick. Jeff, this is even bigger than the demodernization and deindustrialization that you've been talking about. This is all about control. It is all about controlling the movement of the masses, and as you stated, control by the elites, quote unquote. And I hate that term, but they will never be subjected to the same rules. They want to control freedom of independent movement. It is as much of a threat to them as is free speech. Bingo. Bingo. Rick hit the nail right on the head. This is totalitarianism. Now, as I said in my opening monologue, but this bears repeating, Jasmine Crockett supports this. Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez, that is at the heart of her Green New Deal. She supports this. Bernie Sanders says this is the revolution. This is what Pritzker in Illinois, he's going to be one of their top 2028 presidential candidates. He supports this. Gavin Newsom says he wants this for California. Kamala Harris completely supports this. Those behind the Autopan scandal, the Politburo, the secret cabal, and I'm going to get to this later, they completely support this. Had Kamala won, had they stolen the election in 2024, they would have put together legislation on the national level that, in many ways would follow what Cynthia Cream is doing here in Massachusetts. So couple points, and then I want to go to the phone lines. So let's load up the phones, and I want to take all of your calls. 617-266-6868. Who are they? Who is the government? Who is the state? Who are the Democrats? Who the hell is Cynthia Cream? To tell me how many miles I can drive in my own car, or you can drive in your own car. Who is she and who are they to tell us we can't own a vehicle? It's exactly like Rick said. They don't want to just censor our speech. They want to control our very movement. They want to take away our freedom of movement, our ability to move on the road. By the way, how this passes constitutional muster is beyond me. I mean, don't we have freedom of assembly? Don't we have freedom of association? Don't we have freedom of movement in the United States of America? And they want to monitor our cars? No. This has to be stopped right now. Mind your own business. The great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up. This is the mother lode, believe me. Cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly, this is Craig on Messenger. And he makes a really, really interesting point, which I didn't even think of, to be honest. But again, best audience in the business. I don't know what else to say. Jeff, I think this is payback for electing Donald Trump. Democrats every day are in revenge mode 24/7. And he goes on to say they failed at everything that they've tried on Trump so far. And this is another one that will fail as well. Craig, I really hope you're right. I really hope you're right. But this, to me, this is lunacy. And all I can just tell you is this. And I don't care if it's here in Massachusetts or up in New York, or down in New York, or whether it's California, or whether it's Illinois, or whether it's the, Oregon or Washington State, which all of them have similar pieces of legislation now, or nationally. You elect totalitarian lunatics, you're going to get totalitarian policies. And this is clearly totalitarian. This is all about control. No question now. I mean, again, they've really exposed themselves. So I want to ask all of you, let me put it on the table. Are you willing to allow the government, in the name of fighting climate change, to regulate and limit the number of miles you can drive your personal car or SUV or pickup truck or van or whatever it is, your vehicle? Do they have the right? Are you willing to give them that right to limit, control, and regulate how much you can drive, how far you can drive every single day? And ultimately, do you want to help them ban? Do you think it's time to get rid of all vehicles on the road and have everybody take either public transportation or ride a bike or walk? I'm just curious. How many out there truly actually support what is, to me, an insane, radical, almost anti-modern? You want to talk about Democrats being progressive? This is regressive. This is against living in a modern, advanced society, frankly. But that's where they are now, with this climate change fanaticism and this climate change religion. It's a cult. I say over my dead body, my car is my car. I own it. I paid for it. I have the right to drive it as much as I want. It's called freedom, baby. And if you don't like it, go to communist China. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Angelo in Rockland. You're going to kick us off, Angelo. Thanks for holding, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? So what I need is a butter knife to spread the cream, because the toast is done. But isn't it unbelievable?
This is what it's all come down to now, Angelo. We finally know their end game. This is what it's all about.
Imagine if Kamala won, what we'd be in for. Oh, my God. Talking about your hands being tied. So what am I supposed to do with my summer home that I have in New Hampshire, or other people? What am I supposed to... Oh, I know what it is. They're in the camel market. They're breeding camels in the desert, and they're going to sell them to us to get rid of our cars. Is that the plan?
That's a great... What if you live in a rural area? You're right, Angelo, but think about it. Let's say you live in forget a rural area where I am, right? I'm on the border in Rhode Island, and I got to work in Medford. How am I going to get to work? Like, seriously, how am I going to... Now, the Dems' answer would be, well, take a freaking train. And I'm like, at what, 3 a.m? You're not going to have trains at 3 a.m. So I got to travel, bike to work? You want me to bike all the way? Like, what is it, an hour? What is it, 60 miles, 50 miles? I mean, I haven't done the actual mileage, but whatever it is, 45, 40 miles. I'm going to bike 40 miles and then bike back home 40 miles? See, so what they're trying to do, Angelo, is, no, you shouldn't have a second home. How dare you have a second home in New Hampshire? You greedy capitalist, you. No, sell it. Because you can't get to it, so sell it. Jeff Kuhner, no, you got to live in a 15-minute city. No, of course you're not going to bike at 40 miles a day, back and forth, 80 miles. So sell your home. It's too big anyway. And we're going to stick you in a 15-minute city. and you live in a very small apartment, remember what the plan is. As Klaus Schwab said, you will own nothing, and you will be happy to own nothing. And you can live in your very small apartment with your wife and your 2 kids, and either bike or walk to work, and blank you. So we control you. What you can say, what you can't say, how much money you make, where you can go, where you can't go. It's the Chinese model, but implemented on America. What do you say, Angelo?
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. They're bought and sold by China and all these other influences, so they're going to do what they want, and it's not going to happen. And you know something? This is America. Now, if you want to be a boy, you want to be a girl, whatever you want to do it. Don't throw it in our face. They're throwing this argument of everything else at us to fight, and what they're doing, it's being successful because behind the door, they're putting all their radical, crazy ideas into play. Meanwhile, we're fighting the other fight. Enough's enough. We got to vote them out of office and get back on track to common sense and American values. If you don't want to be a patriot, go over there and grow your camels. Have a nice life. What do you think, Jeff?
I'm with you, Angelo. I'm with you. Look, again, this is going to make us a third world country. Right? Not really. I'm saying you go to a third world country. Really, what do you see? People on camels, people on mules, people with straw hats pushing a cart, carrying a cart, pulling a cart. In very large parts of China, just to use China or Vietnam or Cambodia or take your pick, you see them on their bikes. They bike everywhere with their straw hats. There they are. They're on the bike. And with the bell. Ding, 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 ding. And you just see them biking to work or to go grab some food at the market or whatever. So you see they want to destroy our standard of living. They want to destroy our modern advanced economy. And they're going to turn us into a third world hellhole. Now, remember, they'll never ride a bike. Cynthia Cream will not ride a bike. Cynthia Cream does not take the subway. She won't take one of those EV buses. Cynthia Cream will have a limo. Just like AOC has a limo and a private plane. So it's classic communism. For the ruling class, for the Politburo, for the political leadership, for the party, nothing but the best. For the peasants, take a bike, ride a bike, walk. Angelo, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. So, to Cynthia Cream and Bernie and AOC and Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, you phony, you frauds, you. But what I'm happy about, honestly, is finally the cat's out of the bag. We know they wanted this. Now they're telling us to our face, this is what they want. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the Democrats now, the Moonbats, they're coming for your car. I mean, literally, they're coming for your car. So, my question to you, huge bill now making its way up on Beacon Hill, but it's being replicated, mimicked in many other blue states. In fact, the Green New Deal that the Democrats want to impose, this is AOC and Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal, has exactly these very same provisions. So, believe me, the last thing this is a Massachusetts thing. This is blue states. This is the Democratic Party. This is what they want to do to the entire country. But according to this bill, now being pushed by state senator, actually she's Senate Majority Leader, at the state legislature, Cynthia Cream, Creem, because many of you are saying, Jeff, I can't believe this. Like, they wouldn't be this extreme, this out of touch, this draconian. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, it's SS 2246. This bill would create a panel or a commission an interagency, so all the departments of government would be involved, and they would literally track and monitor every single vehicle on the road. Your car, your vehicle, mine, everyone's. And it would check the number of miles that we drive. And if we exceed an arbitrary limit, 30 miles, 40 miles, whatever it is, you will be fined and penalized. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars for every violation. And the goal, and she has said this openly, Senator Kreme, okay, Krispy Kreme has now said it openly. Krispy Kreme says EVs are not enough to fight climate change. We have to get rid of all cars and vehicles, every single one of them. In the end, she says the goal is to coerce people into taking public transportation, a bus, subway, whatever, or ride a bike or walk. I can't walk to Medford. I'm telling you right, I can't. I can't do it. I can't bike to Medford. And unless they start having trains at 2, 3 in the morning, I can't take a train to Medford. They have a solution. 15-minute cities. Sell everything, Jeff. Go live in a very small apartment in a controlled 15-minute city. That's their end game. Like, no like. Agree, disagree. Tim in Marshfield. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
So this just goes to show how the Democrats, they come up with an idea and they think it's so great without thinking any of the ramifications are going to happen. So Bernie, the great senator from the state of Vermont, this is going to kill their revenue stream. How are people supposed to get to the ski resorts in the middle of winter without a vehicle?
That's a great point. I mean, that's a brilliant point. But Tim,
what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to bike through a snowstorm, or you're supposed to rely on that EV vehicle that you know the cold is going to kill the battery?
Well, I mean, there are chains on the tires there, Tim. Don't forget, you can snowshoe. Don't forget that. You can snowshoe your way there.
You can snowshoe, Jeff. You're absolutely right. They'll probably make those better for you, too, with orthopedics.
But, Tim, I think, look, this is what's chilling about all this. Because they're not stupid. I mean, they're crazy, but they're not stupid. They don't want us to be in cars, which means they don't want us going to ski lifts. See, ski lifts is for them. Ski lifts is not for us. And that's what's frightening about this, Tim. They want to create a third world country. And, Mary Ann out in Florida, really a brilliant message she sent me just a couple of minutes ago. She said, but Obama said this from the beginning, that was his goal, to transform us into a third world country like Kenya. Because he was so bitter and his father was so bitter. Why is Kenya so poor and America so rich? Why are all these Americans driving SUVs and nice sedans? And to your point, Tim, taking vacations, going skiing in the winter, going to the beach in the summer. While in Kenya, they're walking barefooted, they ride on bikes, they're lucky a camel or a mule, seriously. And, a car here or a car there. But for the most part, they live in huts. Why so you know what? Force Americans to live in a modern style hut, 15-minute city. And take away their beautiful cars and their SUVs. And that means they won't be able to go on vacation. And they won't have this high standard of living. They're going to be living like most of the world. And I think, Tim, now they've really exposed themselves. And what I find incredible is they think this is a message that's going to win. They think this is, Tim, really, they think they can go to the people of Massachusetts and say, we're going to take your car away from you. What? Yeah. And you're still going to vote for us. Final word to you, Tim.
It's not right, Jeff. It's just not right. It's another one of these things that it's just we look at and we go, they're out to lunch.
I'm with you. To me, I've never seen anything as insane as this. I mean, I've seen crazy things around the world, but in America, that and a wide open border, those are the two craziest things. They did the wide open border, and they want to do this. Tim, thank you very much for that call. But no, he's completely right. I mean, think about it. So how am I going to go to those, how am I going to go to Smuggler's Notch? How am I going to go? Like skiing in Vermont. How am I going to go? I'm not a skier, but I'm just saying. What's going to happen to the tourism industry in Vermont? Kaput. But Bernie doesn't care. That's the point. To make us all poor. No, to make us poor, not them. Believe me, the ski hills will be open for the apparatchiks. Remember, he doesn't wait to fly United. He doesn't wait. He flies private. And he makes, as I said, I make no apologies about it. So that's communism. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeff in Lawrence. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
I think there could be a net benefit to this. If they're the only ones driving around cars or being driven around, they're going to be easier to track and target. Because it's coming to the point. It's coming to the point where our vote doesn't matter. Our elected representatives don't do what we want. The president doesn't have any backup. And they'll be easy to identify. And I don't think they've thought of that.
Well, Jeff, if you ever get a chance, and I know you're a very busy man, but if you ever get a chance, do me a favor. In all seriousness, go on YouTube or, wherever. Just type in North Korea. I'm serious. North Korea, either traffic or cars or driving. And it's a very eerie scene. You'll see the images. There's video that's gotten out of that country where downtown Pyongyang, that's the capital of North Korea. Now, it should be teeming, cars and vans and buses and motorcycles. It's like, it's a capital city. It's empty. There's no traffic. There's nothing. Like, it's just eerie. It's street after street, boulevard after boulevard. And once in a while, you just see a limo. It's one of the members of the party being either driven around or driven to the, to the presidential palace or whatever. And you just see the occasional car. That's it. That's them. You can identify who's in the leadership, who's in the Communist Party, the elite, Communist Party. And everywhere else in the country, this is Cynthia Cream's dream. This is AOC's dream. Everybody's walking and everybody's on a bike. Or they're all crammed on a bus. So their vision is that it's North Korea. Now, the reason why they do this is to maximize control over their citizens. I mean, if you don't have a car, and most people in North Korea are not allowed to have a car, well, it's easy to track you down. They follow you wherever you go. So this is why they want very few people in vehicles. It's a luxury. You have to be part of the party. And everybody else, you're at the mercy of the state. And you are poor. You own nothing. You are starving. You're dependent. And the state, it's like they're like God. They really are. They're, to many people, they're like God. They can make you or they can break you. They can give you food or they can make you starve. They can make you speak your mind or they can censor you. They can have you go from, one place to another in a car, which means you'll actually see something besides just a couple miles that you live in, or you can remain in your hut for the rest of your life. It's a wretched, miserable existence. But if you want maximum social, political, economic control, there's your model. So literally, what they're proposing is North Korea. So, and Jeff, just to back up your point, you're saying they'll be very easy to track. But see, they don't stop. They're going to take the guns. For all of this to work, the guns have to go. That's what they've done in North Korea. Nobody owns a gun unless you're in the military. So, all you do is just watch them and you dream. Maybe that could be me one day. How do they live? They have full bellies, buffets, well-dressed, cars, they fly. They can only do things that most North Koreans can only dream of. A final word to you, Jeff.
Interesting. Ludwig von Mises, one of his books, he talked about how government solutions always create more problems. This dates back to the early 1950s. We had a great transportation network with the rails. The airlines were just getting started, obviously, but what they did is they dismantled all the streetcar systems in every city, and then in the interest of building the highways, and now we have two transportation networks, rail to a lesser degree, that are both at capacity. The roads are clogged with cars all the time. The airlines are at capacity. So the greatest generation, after they got done leveling Europe, came back and started dismantling our cities. And all they do is create more problems. And this climate change nonsense that's been going on, this is all, there is man-made climate change, but our government is the one doing it. In fact, at some point, I don't know if you'll have, there's several leading experts on, weather manipulation and weather warfare. One of the, in fact, I just heard her interviewed the other day, Ilana Freeland. She has a book about chemtrails and HARP and everything else. So they're working. It's a multi-front attack on our society and civilization. And you asked the question about why were the borders opened. You're right. These people are insane. They aren't stupid, but they hate the white race. They really do. They feel guilty for being white. I don't have a problem with any race. I don't really look at skin color, but they want to make our race go away. It's very evident.
I agree with you. Jeff, I agree with you 1,000% in every way. You're right. To me, I told you race is like skin. It's skin color is like eye color. I don't care. Blue eyes, green eyes, hazel, brown eyes. I mean, who cares? White, brown, black. Who cares? It's like the color of your hair. But you're right. These liberal elites, these, self-styled, leaders, they are guilt-ridden over being white. They hate themselves for being white, and they want to destroy the white race. They do. I mean, that's the whole theory behind the Great Replacement. America's too white. Europe is too white. Again, I don't care about, I really don't. But they hate white people. It's so obvious. And look, Jeff, I just want to go back to something that you said earlier, how they want to destroy our way of life. They want to destroy our civilization. You're completely right. But let me take it from the macro, the big picture, as you're talking about, to the micro, okay? Just objectively, just stand back. And Americans so take this for granted. I don't care if you drive a 25-year-old jalopy. It doesn't matter. A brand new car or a 25-year-old, it's on its last legs. Do you know the kind of prosperity and freedom you have that most people in the world can only dream of? I want to go grocery shopping now. I want to buy myself an ice cream. I'm just making it up now. Or I want to take my kids, whatever, to softball practice now. Or I want to meet Jeff Kuhner now. Or I want to meet my friend now. And you just get in your car. And no one's following you. No one's monitoring you. No one's surveilling you. And you just turn that key. And you go. And we take it for granted. And you go 5 miles or 10 miles or 15 miles, 20 miles, which is now approaching a marathon. You'd have to run for hours and hours and hours in most countries around the world. You can't go that far, but no problem. And then you stop, and then you meet someone or whatever. You have an ice cream, or you take your child to play softball, or whatever it is that you do. You're free. You're free. And you're free of government control. And you can do things and experience things that for thousands of years, really, only kings and queens and emperors could. Like, people don't understand. This is what we have in America. This is because of the great free market system. The free enterprise system. That's what it's done. It's lifted us up to a level of freedom and prosperity and, frankly, advancement that is the envy of the world. Now, they want to tear all this away. Why? Why? You have to ask yourself, why? And that's why I go back to Solzhenitsyn, just for everybody out there, the great Russian dissident and anti-communist writer. And he said, after all my years in the Gulag and living under Soviet rule and Soviet oppression, and having studied Marxism and communism and the Soviet system, and wherever communism has been tried, fundamentally said, you know what I've concluded? Communism is Satanism. It's satanic. It's evil. It's just evil. And evil destroys, almost for the sake of destroying. It gets off on power. It lives off power. It's its ultimate aphrodisiac. This Cynthia Cream, this sicko, she's a sick woman. AOC, I'm telling you, he's a psychopath. Bernie, I mean, he looks like, with the googly eyes. Ooh, I mean, he looks crazy, and he is. But he's a psychopath, like all these communists. So for them, the thought of taking away your car, my car, they love it. They love it. Let them walk. Let them ride that bike. Because now you're playing God. Now you're playing God with people's lives. Now, as you put it, now you're manipulating the weather. Now you're saying, no, there's climate change. And we're going to manipulate the weather system. And we're going to control what they say and what they think and what they believe and where they live and how they live and how much they can eat and how much they can't eat and where they can go and where they can't go. It's a God complex. It's evil. It's so evil. I can't tell you how evil it is because it requires nonstop control and destruction and oppression. And you get off on it. And I'm telling you, people have told me this over and over and over again. Here, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK, said, look, I hobnob with all these so-called elites. Okay, all these millionaires and billionaires, all the big players. I meet them, I know them, I know everything about them. He said, let me tell you what their problem is. How many steaks can you eat? How many mansions can you own? How many nightclubs can you hit? How many cocaine-fueled parties can you have? How many women or men or children or whatever can you sleep with? After a while, it becomes boring. It becomes meaningless. You're asking yourself, okay, is that all there is? I mean, how many rounds of golf can you play? And so what they realize is their life is empty. So what do they want? They want power. Power gives them meaning. And by giving them power, he said it's the greatest aphrodisiac in the world. Once it gets in your veins, it can never get out of your veins. And that's the globalists, that's the communists, and that's the Democratic Party. Jeff, final word.
I agree with everything you say, Jeff. Not 100%, 1,000%. And it's a very dangerous track that we've been on for quite some time. I mean, the elites date back centuries, with the Rothschilds and the banking families of Europe. And they've been at it for a long time. They start wars, they manipulate crises and everything else. And people need to wake up.
Jeff, as always, thank you very much for that call. Really smart call. Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Heather.
So my question is, what about the first responders? And I don't mean like the police and fire, like that have like, government, city and government vehicles, but I mean like doctors, nurses, those type of people that need to get back and forth to, their hospitals or where, medical institutions, wherever they work, like different hours of the day. You know what I mean? Like they could have to be at work at like, in the morning or like at 2:00 in the morning. Like,
Heather, this is such an important question. I'm up against the break. Can you please hang on, Heather? And I'm going to come right back to you. She's asking a very, very important question, and you're not going to believe what the answer is. So I've got that, so much more. Don't touch that dial. 7:18 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Heather in Rockland. She was on a roll. Heather, you were saying with this bill now that the Democrats are pushing, Cynthia Cream, the Senate Majority Leader, is the one who sponsored it. But again, it's in other states. It's not just in Massachusetts. It's all across the country. And nationally, as you know, that's the heart of the Green New Deal. That's AOC, that's Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, you name it. That this is what they want for the country. If you're going to monitor every vehicle on the road, and then limit how many miles they can drive in the name of fighting climate change, and eventually ban all of these cars and vehicles, thereby throwing everybody onto public transportation or riding, as she said, ride a bike or walk. What about the first responders? And you don't just mean the police and the fire department, as you said. You're talking about doctors, nurses, emergency people. So if they, you have a heart attack. Yeah, let's say there's an ambulance. I guess they'll make exceptions for an ambulance. There's an ambulance that takes you to the hospital. Well, how are these doctors and nurses going to get to the clinic or to the hospital to treat someone who's just been shot or had a heart attack? Did I sum up your position accurately, Heather? Mike, it's Heather in Rockland.
It doesn't make sense to me. Yes.
Sorry, Heather. Mike was on David in Brookline, so he was going with David, and I kept saying Heather. But it's okay. He's here now. So, all right, Heather. Mike's paying attention now. So, all right, okay. Heather in Rockland, please pick up where did I sum up your position accurately?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like the whole thing is so absurd to me. Like it just doesn't make sense. And the other comment before you answer is the other comment is what I wanted to say is, so in Massachusetts, like if this absurd thing ever passes, like people would just move to the red states, right? I mean, in theory.
No, you're right. No, in theory, that's what's going to happen. You're right. But then the Democrats have an answer for that, which is take back the White House, win a national election, and then impose it across the whole country. That's their goal. In fact, what we just found out, I'm going to get to this later in the show, had Kamala won in 2024, you want to know how crazy these people are? They were going to do this on the whole country. And Heather, I don't want to jump the gun. Okay, we'll talk, if we have time, we'll talk about it later in the show. If not, definitely on Monday. There was a Politburo. That's what they called it, the Politburo. That was their term, not mine. So to show you how crazy, how communist, how Marxist these top advisors to Biden were, who were secretly running the country, they literally referred to themselves as the Politburo. One of the members of the Politburo is Anita Dunn. Now, you can look her up. When I say she's a Maoist, I'm not saying this as a jab or as a shot or as, I'm making fun of her. She literally is an admirer of Mao Zedong. She says he's one of her favorite, if not favorite, philosophers in history. She studies everything he's written. She worships the ground he walks on. We had a freaking Maoist running the country under Joe Biden. Anita Dunn is all for this. Anita Dunn says that's what we need to do for the whole country. So what I'm saying is, Heather, you're right. There's red states. We can go to the red states. But had they won in 2024, it wouldn't just be Cynthia Cream in Massachusetts or Kathy Hochul in New York or Pritzker in Illinois or Gavin Newsom in California pushing this. This would have been across the entire country. Now, Heather, look, the answer to your question is this, and I'm telling you, this is the answer. What do they do in China? What do they do in North Korea? What do they do in Kenya? What do they do in Venezuela? Remember, AOC says she admires Venezuela. Castro's Cuba, and Chavez, he's now passed away. He was succeeded by Maduro, but Chavez is, sort of like Castro. He's the revolutionary who brought, socialism, communism to Venezuela. So they call it Chavismo. Okay, so in honor of Chavez. So she's an admirer of Chavez and his Venezuela now, and Castro and his Cuba. Well, what do they do in Cuba? In the middle of the night, you get sick. What happens? You rely on the village doctor. I'm not kidding. The hospital systems suck. The healthcare systems suck. Most people die on the way to the hospital because the transportation system is so backward and primitive. Again, unless you're a party elite. That's something else. Okay, but if you're not a party elite, a member of the party, then you're blank you. You're going to, basically your chances are you're going to die. And the only one who can save you, really, seriously, is the village doctor. So let's say you live in a 15-minute city. Well, you better hope that one doctor in that 15-minute city has the time, has the expertise, and the competence to be able to save you. Whether it's a gunshot wound, whether it's a stroke, whether it's a heart attack, whatever it is. Now, I'm telling you, that's communism. That's socialism. Let me give you just another example, and then I'm going to come right back to you, I promise, Heather. There's now videos. It's everywhere. The ANC of South Africa is a communist party. Okay, Mandela, by the way, was a humane man. He didn't want vengeance on the Boer or the white farmer. But Mandela was a communist. He was. Philosophically, he was a Marxist. The African National Congress, the party that's governed South Africa since apartheid came down, is literally, it's a communist party. It's a very far left extreme party. Now, under the ANC, white farmers are having their lands confiscated. There are videos now. The white farmers' land has been taken over by roving black pro-ANC gangs. You can see the videos. You see these young black men who have never farmed before. They don't know how to run a farm. Well, they thought, let's kick the white farmer out, the Afrikaner, the Boer, as he's called, take his land, and we're going to farm. We'll just take it over. You see them. They can't manage the machine to plow the ground. And there's videos. You can see it. They're laughing, and they're like, how do I control this? What do I really do with this? And you look at this, you're like, they're not going to plant one single crop. That's communism. That's what happens when these people seize power. Heather, can you please hang on? Mike threw this break on me, the music. Mike, no warning? I mean, what are we... 7:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my apologies to Heather in Rockland. I should have come back to you sooner. I thought we had more time in that segment because I really wanted to get your final opinion on everything that we were discussing. But anyway, my mistake, and I won't make that mistake again. So my apologies to you, Heather. Okay, just very quick reset because I want to go right back to the blazing phone lines. 617-266-6868. Cynthia Cream, state senator, but she's also Senate Majority Leader up on Beacon Hill. Very powerful, very senior Democrat. Has now introduced a bill. You can look it up yourself. It is called S-2246, in which she's literally calling for a panel or a commission to monitor, surveil, spy, essentially, on every person's car or vehicle. So you're driving your car to limit how many miles you can drive. And the reason is, she says, in her own words, EVs are not enough. You want to fight climate change? Electrical vehicles are not enough. You have to limit how much people drive to work or to the grocery store or to see their friends or whatever they do. And eventually, all of these cars must be phased out and banned, completely banned. And then people will be forced to either take she's giving them three options: public transportation, train, subway, whatever, or a bike, or you walk. She also wants to create massive spending for 15-minute cities all over Massachusetts, and basically to replace most of the roads with bike paths, walking paths and bike paths. This is now being followed in New York. Kathy Hochul's already implemented draconian congestion pricing. This is now the model in California, in Illinois, and as I've been saying all morning, AOC, Bernie Sanders are not just supporting the bill. They want something at the national level. This is their Green New Deal. Kamala Harris, had she won in 2024, would have implemented this, but for the entire country. And so my question to you, does the government have the right to limit how many miles you can drive in your own car? Frankly, spy on you in your car, monitor you in your car. I mean, to me, this is blatantly totalitarian. But then fine and penalize you if you go over, say, 30 or 40 miles a day, and eventually they'll take it down. It'll go 40, and then 30, and then 25, and then 20, and then 10, and that's eventually you say, to hell with it, I'm going to take the bus, or I'm going to, whatever, take a bike or whatever, and eventually force you onto either a bike or public transportation. They want a world without cars, and they want a world where everyone lives in a 15-minute city. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from, you can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 617, and it's an absolute doozy. Jeff, this comes from the very same people who believe any change in the climate is a result of human beings. Democrats believe they can replace God and nature. And that's communism. Create a godless society in which the party, the Communist Party, or now the Democrat Party, can replace God and replace nature. Brilliant. 617, brilliant. This is from 781. Jeff, it would be nice if you could get Cynthia Cream to come on the air and explain why this is so important. A nice little debate could be interesting if she has the guts. Well, here's what I want to do, 781. I know Sandy has a lot of contacts up on Beacon Hill. I'd love for her to reach out. I'm asking her on the air if she can reach out to Cynthia Cream and have her come on the Kuhner Report, and I promise, okay, and I want you to hold me to this, it'll be a 12-minute interview. I will give her a full 5 minutes to just explain and defend her bill. I'm not going to come in and attack her. I'm not going to come in debating her. I'm not going to ambush her. I'm going to give her a full 5 minutes, and you can time me, where she can explain the bill, why we need it, why it's so important. And then I'd love to have a back and forth with her and see if she has the guts to defend her bill, her beliefs, and her radical green ideology. Something tells me she doesn't have the guts to come on, but I'd love to be proven wrong. 617-266-6868. I want to read one more. I know, Jeff, for God's sakes. Seriously, dude. You sound like a freaking broken record. I know, but it's true. Best audience in the business. Now, you tell me if this is not brilliant. Okay? Brilliant. This is from 603. Now, listen to this. Jeff, the bill, and by the way, this is why I love this audience so much. Best audience in the business. Jeff, the bill you're describing falls perfectly in lockstep with the UN's Agenda 2030 and their Smart Cities initiative, all being sold to an unsuspecting public under the guise of fighting fictional climate change. This is not just happening here in America. It is a global plan being foisted on all the peoples around the world. And make no mistake, it is a weapon system against humanity. Now listen to this. The root of this agenda is not based in fighting some fictitious global crisis. It's based in deindustrialization and global depopulation, achieved through absolute control and social engineering. When you hear these fanatical people talk about zero carbon footprints and carbon neutrality, just remember, now this is a mind bender, but it's true. Just remember that human beings are carbon-based life forms. Zero carbon, taken to its end, can only mean one thing, and that's zero people. This measure they're now pushing is not the end game. It's simply one rung in the ladder to achieving the globalist desire for total global depopulation. It's anti-human, and it's satanic to the core. And that's the rest of the story. 603, I'm telling you, you're a freaking genius. Cynthia Cream and AOC and Bernie and Gavin Newsom and all of them, okay? The Green New Deal. They say openly, oh, we have to have net zero economy. We have to reach net zero, meaning net zero carbon emissions, net zero. Well, think about it. You inhale oxygen, but what are you exhaling? Carbon dioxide. The biggest emitter of carbon in the world is us. It's people. If you're waging a war on carbon, you're waging a war on us, on humanity. That's why the goal is to get rid of people. It's global depopulation. Is to just tease me and really just, keep needling me. It's like, I don't know, like you're in heaven in there, Mike. We're on the air now? Okay, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Mike was just telling me how he's got to remind me at 8 o'clock it's Kuhner's call log because I always forget because Mike's always saving my bacon. According to Mike, I don't know how I do this show without you, my friend. 617-266-6868. David in Brookline. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, David?
Fine. I'm the other David from Brookline. There is there is another one.
No, there is. No, there's two of you. There's two, and you're both. At least. Yeah, and your worldview is very similar. The only way I can tell the difference is your voice. That's it.
We don't put up political signs in our yards because we value our lives. A couple of points. One is, I think we should ask Cynthia Cream how she plans to drive to her second home up north that she has. That should be very interesting to see, her walk or bike.
David, on it seriously, she has a second home?
Yes.
It's just incredible.
Yes.
They're such hypocrites. Oh my God, are they incredible?
My wife, who, like your wife, is smarter than we are. And secondly, I want to sort of second that wonderful message that you got about Agenda 2030. It actually goes back further. There was something called Agenda 2021, which emanated, it's a United Nations, quote, voluntary document that came out of Brazil in 1992 from some environmental conference, and actually was signed on by none other than H.W. Bush. And that's where a lot of this smart city control, depopulation, and it goes under the rubric of sustainability. And when you hear sustainability, that means that people are going to tell you where to live, how to drive or not, and what foods to eat. You quoted Klaus Schwab it's very important. Soon you will own nothing and you'll be happy, and you'll be eating bugs. And it is a nightmare, Jeff. It is a nightmare. And, I'm a Milton Friedman fan, and, his book called Free to Choose really talks about how societies that give people the freedom to create obviously do much better. So I encourage people to read about Agenda 2021, read about Davos, read about the World Economic Forum. This has been going on for quite a while, and these are elites who, you're right, just get their rocks off, excuse my expression, by control. No, really. I mean, look, David, look, and I promise I'll let you finish, but this is what RFK Jr. told me. I mean, it's almost sexual. I mean, really, you say, get their rocks off. No, really, he said, it's an aphrodisiac. I'm like, really? He goes, no, I'm telling you. He goes, once you start getting into really, power and control, he goes, look at these, it goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. He was explaining all this to me. These Roman emperors, the greatest high, the greatest thrill was control and deciding whether people live or die. And once you start doing it, you can't stop. Stalin, I mean, I'm getting too, it's a family show, but in these show trials, and many of them were his former colleagues, high up in the Soviet Bolshevik Party, and he would have them twist in the wind at these fake show trials, and knowing that they'd be sentenced to death, he got aroused. I mean, I don't want to go into it even more, but it's been well documented. He got pleasure. I mean, I don't know what else. I got to be careful, but they really, it's such, apparently it's for some people, it is such an addictive high that once they get it, they can't let it go. And that's a lot of these totalitarian elites. Please, David, finish your point. Listen, Jeff, your family lived through it. You've told stories, and they're not unique. Ask the people in Ukraine what they think about planned agriculture. How many millions of them died with under Stalin? Ask the people in East Germany what life was like. And people say, well, it can't happen here. But, I'll leave it with this. I've also fought the Republicans. I really think that most of them are just interested in getting reelected. They do not, and the statewide and nationally, they don't put up a valid opposition. And I really fault them as much.
David,
I'll leave it at that.
David, you're a brother from another mother, my friend. You really are. David, outstanding call. Thank you so much. Again, where's the mass GOP? I mean, this is pathetic. They They should, Link, who's one of the biggest fans of this show. I mean, Link has come to our events and emailed me maybe 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. If I'm a little off, forgive me, Link, because he listens to 4 hours of the show every day. But, he emailed me and he said, is there one Massachusetts Republican that's willing to fight? Like, just one? Can we get one? Like, just one. The Mass GOP should be all over this. I mean, you want to talk about winning over all the independents. You want to talk over winning conservative, moderate Democrats the way Trump has. You want to talk about building a majority coalition. My God, you could hang this around their neck. And notice, Healy will not come out against the Cynthia Crean bill. Because that means going up against the radical communist wing of the party. The so-called progressives. She's not going to go up against AOC. She's not going up against Pocahontas. Markey, if anything's even to the left of Pocahontas. That's possible. She's not going up against Markula. She's not going up against Bernie. She's not going to go up against Kamala Harris. No way. Nothing. Again, it's like they're paid to lose. Because they are paid to lose. Kathy in Rochester. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi.
And we have no one to blame but ourselves, the voters in this state. We had an election the other day in my lovely little town of Rochester, and only 20% of the voters turned out, which is disgusting. Where are the other 80% of the registered voters in our town? And that's high compared to other towns. In the city of New Bedford, only 7% of voters show up. So this is becoming a huge problem. And the Democrats, I must say, I will give them credit. They, again, are a well-oiled machine. They had their little demon rats turning out. I've seen people voting that I haven't seen before because they had a liberal running for the school committee, and they all came out to support them, just like they do. But we, as either unenrolled or Republicans, have got to get our act together because in this state, here are the facts. 8% of the voters are Republican, 30% are Democrats, and 60% are unenrolled. I'm an unenrolled. So we, the unenrolled people, we need to take sides with the Republicans and change our state. But if you don't get out and vote, you are basically handing the ability for the Democrats in this state to make rulings, to pass bills that are not in your best interest. You're handing it to them on a silver platter. I mean, it's that simple. And that's the problem with this state, along with, the people who have been elected, because what happens in this state is all the Republicans go along to get along with the Democrats. And if you don't go along with the Democrats, you're going to be shunned, you're going to be taken off committees, you're going to have no power. So we, the people, need to give the power to the Republicans, but the only way you can do that is to vote. So we can talk about this till the cows come home. We can talk about this for weeks, months, years. But if you don't get out and vote, if you don't learn the Constitution and know what your rights are, you can't, you're powerless. So let's get some power in this state. And when there's an election, people, even though you think that your vote doesn't count, it does. Every single vote counts.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. No, look, you get what you vote for. And that's Cynthia Crean. And it's Maura Healey. And it's, you run down the whole list. It's Andrea Campbell. You can run down, it's Elizabeth Warren. It's Ed Markey. It's just, you can go on and on. And, it's Kathy Hochul in New York. It's Pritzker in Illinois. It's Brandon Johnson in Chicago, that whack job. By the way, did you hear? Memorial Day now is Africa Day in Chicago. I'm not kidding. The mayor of Chicago came out and said it's not Memorial Day, it's Africa Day. I'm telling you can't make this stuff up. You vote for Newsom. You vote for a totalitarian fanatic, a lunatic. You're going to get lunatic policies. All right. Mike is telling me I'm already over. 8 o'clock. You know what that means, my friend. Caller of the week, Kuhner's Call Log.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thanks for holding, Dan.
I feel like an ant where they can just step on you and squish you and forget about you. But what they forget is that in an ant colony of 330 million, everything gets out of the way when that colony becomes on the move and basically has energy to fight. We've got a political cartel going on within our own government. It's a government within a government. It's a shadow government. And unfortunately, they're trying to burn it all down. Everything that's good, they don't care. And while they're burning it down, they're burning all of us down, including the liberals. We're all going to pay for all this foolishness. This is ridiculous. We cannot survive as a country as divided as we are. If united we stand, divided we fall, and that's part of our mantra. That's who we are. But these people, all they care about is their blood-sucking power to take every single thing that we have got, our freedom, our liberty, our money, and all for what? For their power, for them to tell us what the hell to do and how the hell to do it? I'm telling you right now, Jeff, this is sickening. They're termites. They're eating this country from the inside out. They make us look like fools. I can't stand it. Everyone should see it. It's a damn lie. They're treasonous. They're treacherous. And basically, if they have their way, we're going to fall.
And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. Great rant. That was Dan in New Hampshire. Great rant. You know, it's not just best audience in the business, of course, but I'm telling you, some of the best rants in the business. I mean, it's just dynamite stuff. They're almost like mini monologues. So congratulations, Dan. As usual, outstanding call. You are the caller of the week. Okay, my friends, 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you on this lovely Friday?
I'm still, hey, Mark, I still have my car. I'm grateful.
Before I get to that, Jeff, you know, at the end of your show, you always close out with "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor.
Yes.
I think you should change it to Twisted Sisters. We're not gonna take it anymore.
Mike, are you listening to Mark? Mike, I like it. No, really, Mike, think it over, Mike. I like it. Or maybe at least mix it up, Mike. Just a suggestion, Mike. Mark, I love it. I really love it.
Jeff, to get to this, I mean, I'm a little upset, Jeff, and you should be too, because I thought we were the dictators and the totalitarians and the Nazis and the communists. They're stealing our moniker, Jeff, by doing this. I'm a little upset. I mean, not for nothing, Jeff. Just the thought of somebody monitoring me, of where I'm driving, how fast I'm driving, how many miles I'm driving. I'm sorry, Jeff, but if this isn't invasion of privacy and totalitarianism and communism, then I don't know what is. I really don't.
Mark, is this too much even for the Moonbats here in Massachusetts? Now notice,
it's over.
Bill in Sudbury has not called, Mark. Frank in Gloucester have not called. The other Chris in Gloucester. So they're not calling and saying, no, even for me, Jeff, this is too much. Is there silence because they're embarrassed? Or is there silence because they're complicit, they actually agree with it? In other words, Mark, have they jumped the shark on this one? Is this too far, too much, even for the crazy Marxists in mass?
I think it's embarrassment, Jeff. I think even the biggest moonbat liberal whack job out there is going to say, I'm not paying if I drive over a certain amount of mileage. But you know what, Jeff? My question is this. Does this affect businesses? Because if that's the case, if you're a truck driver and our goods need to be shipped somewhere by vehicle, Are they going to monitor how many miles they're driving? Are they going to complain that we don't have anything in the stores because we can only drive a certain amount of miles a day? Did they even think this through, or did they just throw this crap together and like just throw it at the wall and see if it sticks? Because it makes no sense. Because if you're gonna penalize me for going over my mileage, aren't you going to penalize I don't know, a trucking company or a taxi or an Uber?
Oh, brilliant. Mark, honestly, I think that's the checkmate argument. I mean, you're right. It's going to lead to food shortages. I mean, and so much else. I mean, you know, everything else that's trucks take to market, right, to the stores. But and by the way, if you're going to ban everything off the road, again, we're going like North Korea. I mean, I guess they want millions of people to starve. But, you know, so how do we get the food into the grocery stores? You know, I don't know. How do you get, jeans into the outlet stores? Like, I don't know where people buy jeans anymore, but you know what I mean? So, I mean, just your sneakers, the clothes on your back. No, you're right. What's going to happen? They go to the supermarket and, okay, I live in a 15-minute city. I go to the supermarket. Well, it's empty. Why is it empty? Well, we've banned the trucks. What? Yeah, they've banned the trucks. Or they've limited them with the mileage that they can't afford to pay all these fines. So, you know, go home. I guess, Mark, are they going to tell us go home and grow a garden? Is that going to be their next step?
The first one complain, if God forbid this ever gets passed, which I don't think it will, because you said, like, are they going a little too far? You know how you say, like overreach? This is overkill. This isn't overreach. This is overkill. And I want to hear one of them complain when they have to go to the supermarket and complain again that they were paying $8 a dozen for eggs, and now all of a sudden they're 16 because we can't put trucks on the road because of your precious little freaking climate change nonsense. Cut the crap. I ain't paying crap for anything. If I go over my mileage, come and chase me, because you ain't getting a freaking cent from me.
Mark, have a great weekend. Drop the mic, my friend. 617-266-6868 is the number. Maria in Ludlow. Audience is on fire this morning. Maria in Ludlow. Thanks for holding, Maria. And as always, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning. How are you, honey?
Good. I mean, I've still got food. I still have my car. I'm still breathing. They're not taxing that yet, Maria. A lot of carbon coming out of my nose this morning. So life is good, Maria.
They might charge you for that. I think this is beyond insane, but I'm going to say, so my car is in the garage. They gave me a loaner. They gave me a hybrid. Can I just tell you, I try to turn on the car because it's a button car now, all fancy. And I went inside like a schmuck saying, excuse me, the car doesn't turn on. I've never driven one of these before. The lady says, I just drove it over there. It worked. I said, well, it's not working for me. She goes outside and she's like, oh, you pressed the button. I said, I know I pressed the button and the brake. It is a hybrid, so you can't even hear it. Last night, I was trying to lock the car in a crazy zone.
Yeah.
I was like swearing up and down that I couldn't lock the stupid thing. And somebody is like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with it. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even turn off the stupid thing. So I hate these cars, the hybrids. It's not for me. I am Portuguese old school. Give me a key. I'm good. This is too fancy and out of my, I can't stand it. No. So I work in Cambridge, but I live in Ludlow.
Ooh.
It's an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes away.
Maria, that's going to be a tough bike ride.
I'm going to, Jeff, I spit my coffee out when you said that stuff, when I heard you. I've been trying to call you for the longest time because I'm drooling over here. These people are...
And there's Mike now. Speaking of people who are power hungry, You know, Mike, I got to tell you, man. You know, you were born, Mike, Stalin's regime. That was Mike, it was your calling. That's your calling. Maria, please hang on. I'm back after Austin. Bulldozer 617-266-6868. I just want to say this, all kidding aside. Mike, outstanding job. And the way, caller of the week, I don't know how you do it, Mike, but every week you deliver. So I just want to give you a big thanks, my friend. 617-266-6868. Okay, speaking of friends, let's go back to Maria in Ludlow, the poor woman. Her car's in the garage. They gave her a hybrid. I've driven one of those when I've had, whatever it wasn't for a loaner. It was when we rented a car, I believe it was in Florida. And I know exactly what poor Maria's talking about. You don't realize the car is running. It's so silent. And the same thing happened to me. I'm like, okay, park the car and, oh my God, the car's running. I forgot to turn it off. So poor Maria has got a hybrid. It's giving her fits. The poor woman's getting a nightmare over it. And she likes the old-fashioned car where you turn the key and, yes, powered by gas. Please, Maria, pick up where you left off.
Thank you. So all kidding aside, so what this person is trying to do, this illiterate schmacarella is trying to do, is making life hard for everybody. So like I said, I drive over an hour to go to work. What's going to happen? Not just for myself. A lot of people will, if this passes, a lot of people will lose their livelihoods, their jobs. Truckers, first responders, anybody, really. What about my son? All of his care is at Boston Children's for everything. At least a few times a month, we go to Children's for his appointment. What's going to happen? Where am I going to take him? So they're going to do something God forbid something's to my son. Well, who's going to be held accountable? This cannot pass by any means because people will lose their livelihoods. This climate change bullcrap is a myth. They're trying to pass something that is beyond ridiculous. Instead of putting their money in their mouths with the right things, helping the Massachusetts residents in critical things, they're making life harder. People are going to leave this state. I wish I could leave this state and move to New Hampshire. It's just mind-boggling. And what
I agree.
Can we do?
Maria, I agree with you. Not 100, as I like to say, but 1,000%. But let me just play devil's advocate for a second, because we've already issued the invitation to Senate Majority Leader, State Senator Cynthia Crean, okay? So we'll see if she responds or not. But here's what she would say to you. And you tell me, I'd like to hear your answer. She'd say, well, no, what we're going to do is we're going to invest billions and billions into a sophisticated train system. So, no, you won't drive from Ludlow to Cambridge, but you'll take the train. So the Europeans take public transportation, the Asians take public transportation. I'm sorry, we have to fight climate change. You're going to have to take the train. Now, if you don't want to take the train, well, I'm going to make Cambridge a 15-minute city. And so move. Where is it written in law that Maria has to live in Ludlow? You don't like it? Move to Cambridge. Or move closer to Boston Children's. In other words, move to Boston. You worried about your son? Well, then get an apartment or a place to live near his hospital. In other words, move. So either take the train or move. What do you say to that?
If that's going to be my choice, I might as well live under a bridge in Boston because nothing is affordable. I cannot afford to live in Cambridge. I cannot afford to live in Boston. One, I would never live in Cambridge because they're like a bunch of libertards over there. Okay, I cannot stand. Every time I go to work, it's like my soul is being sucked out of me. Okay, I can't handle it. And that is not sufficient. At night, there's no trains. I work night shift. There's no trains. And God forbid something happens at home because happened, and I have to leave work pronto, immediately. And I fly home because my son needs me or something medically is wrong with my son, and I have to rush him to the emergency room. I cannot depend on a train, wait for a train, wait for a bus, or bicycle my behind to freaking Ludlow from Cambridge. This is irrational. And I just want to know that somebody out there, if God forbid this passes, they need to veto this to not work. Mr. Trump, he has to get involved to make sure these liberals don't do this to their people in their state. This is just mind-boggling to me. How is this working? But they have no problem in driving their big SUVs, gas guzzlers, or taking an airplane here and there to go for their little joyride. They're so... They are, I don't even know how to say the word in English, Jeff. I'm so, worked up over this.
Well, they're insane. No, you're right. Look, it's going to destroy Massachusetts. Just like they're destroying New York and California. Just, God forbid, had Kamala won, they would have destroyed the country. And if I do get Cynthia Cream on, I'd love to ask her, I want to ask her what kind of car she drives. I'd love to ask her what kind of a car she drives. And if somebody knows, if you know her, Newton is her area. Please call in. I want to know, what does this woman drive? Because something tells me she's not a putt-putt EV kind of person. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yo, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, many of you are texting, emailing, messaging the Kuhner Man. Where is Bill in Sudbury? Where is Frank in Gloucester? Where's the other Chris the Commie, as I call him? Chris in Gloucester. And I gotta say this, it's happened a few times over the last, 12, 13 years that we've been on the air here. But, rare, but it has happened. Nothing from the libs. The Moonbats, it's radio silence right now. Not a text, not an email, not even a call, nothing. So I don't know if they're embarrassed by this bill. But, again, I gotta ask, wouldn't they score points with themselves, with the audience, if they called in and said, hey, look, this is just, even by my standards, this is just too crazy. I mean, you want to talk about, as Mark in Medford said, this is not overreach. This is overkill. But notice, they can never publicly oppose the party. So either their silence means they agree with it, which to me is ay, or they're too chicken or too cowardly or too slavish to call and say, I disagree. I mean, by the way, that shows you the power that AOC and Bernie, and really this new generation, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, the Ayanna Presleys, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Jasmine Crockett's. This shows you the Kamala Harrises. That's the kind of power now that they have over the entire party. It's their party. So let me ask you, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Siding, Roofing, and Windows. Are most Democrats embarrassed by the so-called progressive wing? It's really the communist wing, but for the sake of argument, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. When you hear of legislation like this and plans like this, are most Democrats embarrassed? A, yes. B, no. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X My handle there, and I'm always super active on X. I was again last night. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn is in National ER. Last quick point, then I want to go to the phone lines. You know, what I find incredible, to me, this is just, again, mind-blowing. Here you have a bill, again, backed by AOC, backed by, again, Bernie, again, the whole left wing of the Democratic Party, because it's her Green New Deal. It's their Green New Deal. So they want to do in Massachusetts what they're trying to do in New York, and what they're trying to do in other blue states all over the country, California, Exhibit A, and they want to implement it nationally. They want to start with limiting the ability of people to drive their cars by mileage. And if you exceed whatever the allocated limit is, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles, you will be fined and penalized. Eventually, they want to ban all of these cars and vehicles and to force everyone to take public transportation or ride a bike or walk. And all of it comes with 15-minute cities. So it's all part of the same package. And not one liberal is willing to condemn this? Now, what that shows to me, it's now irrefutable. Their end goal is communism. It truly is. It's communism. And I don't think, if I was to vote in this poll, again, it's up to you. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. I would vote no. I would vote B. I don't think most Democrats are embarrassed by the so-called, the AOCs and the Bernies and the Cynthia Creams in this case, the Maura Healeys there, or the Kathy Hochul's or the Gavin Newsoms. I don't think they're embarrassed by them. Au contraire, they agree with them. You may disagree. I think their silence means complicity. I think their silence is, yeah, why not ban all the cars? Yeah, why not force everyone to ride a bike or take a train? Yeah, why don't we force everybody into 15-minute cities? But what's the problem? So I think this is the center of the Democratic Party now, the center of gravity, the, quote, mainstream of the party. That's why they have no appeal anymore. That's the crisis of the party. It's not messaging. It's not the use of this word or the use of that word or paying somebody $20 million to as they're doing now, to how do we message to young men and appeal to young men. It's the policies. It's the agenda. It's the ideology. It's who and what they are. They're a communist, Marxist, globalist party. And the majority of Democrats are globalist, Marxist commies. That's why they like this proposal. Agree, disagree? 617-266-6868. Gary, is it in Levitt? Okay, it's Gary Levitt. My bad. Let's go. I can't wait for this one. Comedian Gary Levitt. Gary, take it away, my friend.
Another episode of The Honeymooners.
Hey, Ralphie, baby. Did you read about the S2246 bill?
Don't get me going, Norton. I've got enough bums packed onto my bus. It kind of smells like Joe Biden's Depends diaper. Hey.
Well, Ralphie, the more urination on your bus, the easier my sanitation job.
Hardy, har, har. You're a regular riot, Norton. Hey, little buddy, did you know that they're planning on widening these bicycle lanes? I can't stand these spandex-clad nut jobs thinking that they own the road.
I don't know, Ralph. Trixie and I just picked up a bicycle built for two. Let's face it, Ralphie, baby. It's not like you couldn't stand to burn off a few calories yourself, buddy.
Norton, I'm going to start burning some calories by sending you to the moon.
Be careful there, Ralphie. They're going to start levying fines for travel there, too.
Out! Out now!
Yeah, they're going to also outlaw gas bags. Sheesh.
I said out.
Gary, I don't know how you do it, man. Every week you deliver. Every single week. One of the funniest guys I've ever... I'm telling you, this guy's hilarious. One of the funniest guys you'll ever hear. Gary Levitt. Gary, God bless you and thank you. Have a great weekend, my friend. 6161. I don't know. I loved The Honeymooners growing up. I loved it. I thought it was one of the funniest shows. I remember it to this day. Whenever it's on, I rarely see one, but whenever it's on, I watch. And I still laugh. 617-266-6868. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding. 30 seconds, Mike. Okay, so, Mark, we're going to come to you. I just got the notice from Mike, so we're going to come right back to Mark in New Hampshire, take all of your calls, I promise. The Democrats now want to limit the amount of miles you can drive in your car, and they eventually want to ban it. Your reaction next. Be on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull, baby. 617-266-6868. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark. And as always, welcome.
Hey, buddy. Happy Friday from the sane Belknap County in New Hampshire, Jeff, where we don't vote like lunatics. Hey, listen, I think this whole mileage thing, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. They're trying to pull a Trump here, okay? They're trying to throw out the absolute most horrendous thing that they could do. And then this commission, Jeff, is going to say, look, this is too much an invasion of, personal privacy. What we're going to do instead is just enact this policy, and it's going to go back to when Friamal Duvall was in office, Jeff, and they floated when you get your inspection sticker, Jeff. So when you go for your yearly inspection, they're going to note your miles. They're going to tell you, if you drive a gas car, you've got 15,000 miles between now and your next inspection sticker. Okay? If you go over that mileage, you're going to get a 20-cent tax per mile that you're over your allotted limit. And what they're going to say is you can't get a new inspection sticker until you pay that quote-unquote tax. But then they're going to turn around and they're going to tie it to the DMV, Jeff. And when you renew your registration every year that you have to do, it used to be, and it is right now, that in order to get an inspection sticker, you got to have a valid registration. No, they'll change it, Jeff. And they'll say, to get a valid registration, you now have to show proof of inspection. And you have to have good standing as far as your green taxes go, Jeff. So they're going to make it impossible for you to drive your car anything more than what they give you for your allotted miles. The first few years they'll exempt EVs, and they'll just target gas and diesel powered cars and trucks. And then, of course, as they move forward and more people are weaning off of gas because they go to electric to save the thousands of dollars in this climate tax, they're going to turn around and they're going to say, well, we're losing so much money because we don't have the state gas tax anymore. Now we're going to hit all cars that are on the road.
Wow. Mark, I wish I could disagree with you, but I can't. I think there's no question that they would love to do something exactly what you just laid out. Let me ask you this, Mark. Do you think that the people of Massachusetts, and again, I know they're politically crazy. I know there's a lot of hardcore, Marxist moonbats out here, but are they willing to, live with a 15,000, let's say, I'm just, as you put it, let's make up a number, 15,000 miles a year. Are they willing to live with a limit? And if not, then pay a tax on every other mile above that limit? I mean, aren't they taxed enough? Like, there's got to be a certain point. This is what I'm asking, Mark. I mean, are they willing to give all their money to the government? I mean, don't they like to go out to eat? Don't they like to go out and hang out with friends or see a show or have a little disposable cash or, I don't know, buy some, go on vacation? do something? In other words, is this even too much for the moonbats, or do you think they'll happily swallow it?
I think, Jeff, that the left in your state is so invested in climate and, all this other garbage that they'll line up, Jeff, to sign up to do this, and they'll virtue signal and tell everyone how they're doing their part, just like the COVID vaccine. Oh, I'm doing my part, You're going to see everything inside 128, Jeff. That's all they care about. If you live inside 128, you're in your little bubble there, and you're close enough to the city, you're close enough to where all the major businesses are. They don't care about outside of like 495. They think you're nothing but common rubes that drive your lawn tractors to work every day. Okay, these people don't care about what goes on outside the cities. And the bulk of the people live within this bubble, Jeff. So they'll look at it and they'll say, you know what? I only drive 10,000 miles a year. This is fine for me. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to battle climate change. And anyone that doesn't agree with me hates our planet and wants to kill our children, Jeff. That's what this is all about,
Mark, I agree with you, by the way. Okay, I think your analysis of them is spot on. But let me just ask devil's advocate. Let me just ask you this follow-up question. Because I work with a lot of, I don't mean on the show, but I mean in the building and, in the overall area. A lot of these moonbats, a lot of liberals that I know, they love to go to Vermont to ski in the wintertime. They even go up to northern New Hampshire, your neck of the woods. They like to go to Maine in the summer. They're always talking about how they're very outdoorsy, and they'll go to the Berkshires or, wherever it is. They like to go to New York City to see a show. So what I'm saying is, are they willing to sacrifice? Because if they start, if they go forward with this, there's no more skiing at Snuggler's Notch. There's no more going up to Maine and Bar Harbor. There's no more going to New York City, to catch a show on Broadway. So I'm telling you, it's going to cramp the lifestyle of a lot of the liberals that I know that work on this floor. So are they willing to sacrifice their summer vacations, their winter break, their lifestyle? I know they live in a bubble. I agree with you. But they do like to do a little trip here and there. And they're pretentious about it. Put the bikes on and act like, ooh, we love nature and you don't. Are they willing to give that up? I'm just curious, Mark.
I think, Jeff, what you'll see is one of them will come out with the new app, Jeff, that will allow you to budget your miles. And the state, Jeff, is going to offer you the ability to buy miles, Jeff. You can buy so much per mile of extra mileage, and that money is going to be going toward the green initiative, Jeff. So say you plan on budgeting out an extra 1,000 miles that you don't have. Well, you can now go to the DMV. You could go to your, municipal, center in your town, and you could pay that 20 cents per mile for an extra 1,000 miles, Jeff. Now you've solved your problem, Jeff, and you can go on that trip because you spent a couple $100 to buy those extra miles, Jeff. So you're free and clear.
Oh, you really know them. I got to say, Mark, you really, really know them. And you're right. They're going to virtue signal the whole. I'm telling you, it's going to stink how superior they're going to. They're going to walk around and look at me. I just bought 1,000 miles to save the planet. Look at me. I'm so superior. You may be onto something, Mark. In other words, ask for the moon and then hit us with this. Mark, as always, dynamite, my friend. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me ask you, would you be willing to accept any limits on your ability to drive your car? In other words, it's not 30 miles a day or, as they're pushing now. It'll be like 15,000 miles a year, as Mark laid out. No, okay, fine, I'll give you 15,000. And within that 15,000, hey, we're still respecting freedom of choice and your privacy, and you can still drive up to 15,000. That's up to you. But if you go over 15,000, then I'm sorry. It's as Mark put it, it's 20 cents a mile or 25 cents a mile or whatever it is. Would you be willing? Could you live with that? I'm telling you, I'm leaving the state. I'm being honest with you. I'm out. I'm out. And I think a lot of middle working class people are going to be with me. I'm taxed up to my eyeballs already. And now you're going to come after me. Basically, it's going to be a mileage tax after a certain point. So now you're going to hit me with a so-called climate change tax or a mileage tax? I don't think so. You can't take blood from a stone. But, I'm not going to put up with it. Would you put up with it? 617-266-6868. Is it Therese? Therese in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Therese, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm the nurse that was arrested for uttering amen, and I appreciate you having this topic on because I know Mark was from New Hampshire, but we almost got completely sideswiped up here in New Hampshire at the State House. We had 25 pieces of legislation that the Housing Committee was stacked with developers and such, and they put this legislation on the consent calendar, so it was just going to fly under the radar. Praise God, somebody caught wind of it and brought it out to a few of us activists, but it basically, I don't know if you've heard of the Metropolitan Abundance Project, but the whole ideology, it was spearheaded by a far-left Hillary supporter who masqueraded as a libertarian here in the state of New Hampshire. But all this legislation is to shepherd people into these 15-minute cities where you have no parking, so you'll use an electrical bike, 6-story buildings with just one staircase. All the legislation was lifted right off of this website, this Metropolitan Abundance Project, which is out of California. But we just pitched the biggest fit ever and fortunately was able to get them off the consent calendar, get some of them tabled. But we, here in New Hampshire, everyone needs to be wide awake that we have this systemic agenda to kind of bring central planning to the State House and remove local planning to state control is a very real thing. And, the housing crisis that they're talking about here in New Hampshire, this is all to make affordable housing, but they're doing it in a way of presenting it as it's all about your property rights. But then when you look at everything together, it's a much different agenda.
Therese, as I like to say, you're not 100, you're 1,000% correct. And let me ask you, I think now, the obvious follow-up question. And, as the Germans like to say, let's put our cards on the table. You suffered a tremendous price, as many nurses did, for standing up against this authoritarian, dictatorial COVID regime. The overwhelming majority of liberals didn't. They just didn't. They took it. They swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. If you have liberals who, under COVID, were willing to inject themselves with an experimental drug or medication, whatever it is, if a jab, if they were willing to not only inject themselves, but force it upon everyone else, to the point, as they said, you lose your job, you have to stay home, you're not allowed to go to school, you're not allowed to go to university, you're not even allowed to go grocery shopping. That's how far they wanted to go. If they're willing to impose that on themselves and on us, really, this is collectivism. It's statism, it's collectivism, it's communism. It's been building for many, it's not new. This has been going on for decades. Now it's all coming to the fore. Then aren't they willing to endure this? In other words, yeah, this has been the plan all along. Depopulate the planet. We have to stop carbon. Carbon is the main enemy. People emit carbon. People, you and I, we breathe, we exhale, that's carbon. All we do is emit carbon. So ultimately, this is the deindustrialization, the demodernization, almost the depopulation of the planet, and then to force everyone into these small cities where you own nothing. You certainly don't have a car, that's for sure. And they control and track your every movement. In other words, they regulate and monitor and surveil, and they control every aspect of your life. If liberals were willing to hand over their bodily autonomy to the state and force and compel everyone else to do the same thing, why would they say no to this now? I mean, am I wrong, Therese?
Absolutely right, but I think we have to be incredibly wise to the fact that, I mean, this was presented to the people from the libertarians that have moved here to New Hampshire to have a free state, and yet the founder and, you know, sits on the board is the one that's linked to this Metropolitan Abundance Project. So they're masquerading as they're for freedom, but when you look at this policy, it strips away all local planning. It allows the developers to come in and put up 400 units, and you don't have water, sewer, you don't have the infrastructure. It caps the impact fees. So now the town has to instantly go take out a high-interest bond to pay for, you know, the increase in fire and police and everything else for this new development. And that bond goes on to the existing property owners who are barely able to pay their property taxes now in New Hampshire, pushing us out of our little cape into affordable housing. The end goal is for us all to be renters and not to be homeowners. And then they can, you know, we're a dog on a leash at that point.
I mean, it's communist China. I mean, that's China. Everybody's a renter. Nobody's a homeowner. I mean, there's nothing wrong with renting. I rented for years before I able to get my own home. But in other words, you never own a home. No, you'll never have private property. Therese, please, what's the name of this libertarian? Who is this guy?
So Jason Sorens is the founder of the Free State Project. He sits on the board. He has a 22-page white paper unbundling zoning. And the end result is you'll either live in unrestricted land where, you know, anything goes, or you'll be in an HOA, which when you read the HOA, it's, limit parking to encourage electrical bicycles. Like, how does that work in New Hampshire when you have 2 feet of snow? But yeah, you look at it, and he tweeted out that he voted for Hillary, and you know, the more diligence we do on this, the more terrifying. But what's really terrifying is he's gaslighted people who we call movers. They left New York, they left California, they left wherever to come to New Hampshire where they thought it was live free or die, no income tax, no sales tax. These people have given up everything, their jobs, their homes, their, friends and family to come to New Hampshire to have a better way of life, only to find themselves under leadership. And then we have Jason Osborne, who's our House Majority Leader for the Republicans. We have a House Majority, our capital, with Trump. Praise Jesus, we, down ballot, all red. But we've got leadership down there that's shepherding all this in because the big developers are in their back pocket. And the money involved, for these developers to come in and just develop the heck out of New Hampshire is a real thing. And, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, New Hampshire's so beautiful. We need to not let this happen here.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm so with you. It's not even funny. Wow. Therese, no, and this is what I find, again, just this cowardly, corrupt, feckless Republican leadership. And that's why I'm trying to warn everybody. It's not just Massachusetts. Right? It's not just Massachusetts or California or Illinois or these huge blue states. Look, they're creeping into New Hampshire. It's everywhere. It's literally, they're trying to get it everywhere. And we've got to stop them. We've got to stop them. It's now or never. Therese, thank you very much for that call. Really informative call. 617. And by the way, I hate HOAs. Oh my God. These HOAs are fascist Gestapo thugs. When we were living outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland, I had a townhome. I was so proud. First home Grace and I ever owned. Okay? First time we ever bought a home. Loved it. Now, I didn't mind paying the HOA fees, but man, you want to talk about getting off on power? Oh my. They're ringing the doorbell. They're leaving notes in the mailbox. You know, your hedge is only this high. It should be a little lower. The landscaping, the size of the flowers, where you park, you're an inch onto the sidewalk with the measuring tape. I'm serious. No, that's an inch onto the sidewalk. I'm like, you guys should have been born in the 1930s. You were born to be goose steppers. They go to the backyard. They measure your lawn. They had regulations about the size of your lawn. Is it too low? Are you cutting it too low? Are you leaving it a tad too high? Guys, get a life. Like, seriously, get a life. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was treated better, I swear to you, as a renter than I was as a homeowner in a HOA. And I asked Grace, I go, and what are we getting for our fees? These are monthly fees. What, to be harassed? For the pleasure of having a fascist, jackbooted thug? Every single week there was something from this guy. Every week. He'd walk around the neighborhood. You should have seen him. Oh, my God. Power tripping. He loved it. He loved it. So I told him at one point, if you want, I can get you the Nazi swastika armband. I can do that for you. And so you can wear it. And I'll get you those high boots, that the Gestapo had. Oh, you want that? And then you can just go house to house. And before you write your little assessment, do a Zig Heil. With the arms shooting out. You're perfect. Perfect. You missed your true calling. You should have been born in Nazi Germany. 617-266-6868. Mike, how much time left? 30 seconds. All right, I'm going to come back. Let me ask you, would you be willing to pay for extra miles on the road if the government comes back and says they're going to limit the mileage, say, to $15,000 a year, 15,000 miles a year? Whatever it is now, Democrats want to limit the amount that you can drive in your car. Agree, disagree. Your call's next. Is the number? Okay, absolutely spectacular point. This is Eric on Messenger. Jeff, if you pay a gas tax, wouldn't this mileage tax be a double tax? Yes. Yes. Of course it's a double tax. You nailed it, buddy. Yes. I mean, it's tax upon tax upon tax upon tax. And then Eric goes on to say, Jeff, we're being ruled by the crazies, a.k.a. the tree huggers, who have evolved into Green New Deal scammers, which are nothing more than control freaks. That's pretty much it. The tree huggers have now become the Green New Deal grifters, who now are nothing more than totalitarian control freaks. They want to control every, and I mean every aspect of our life. I'm telling you, the only thing they're not taxing us yet is breathing. That's it. That's it. 617. Whatever. We'll give you 1,000 breaths a day free. Okay? There's the carbon. Kuhner just exhaled. There's the carbon, damn it. So, we'll give you 1,000 breaths. But after 1,000, it's a tax. A penny per breath. There you go. That's that. You laugh. It's going to come to that. I'm sure the moonbats now are like, ooh, we didn't think of that. Ooh, let's tax air and breathing. Ooh. 617-266-6868. Raymond in Arlington. Thanks for holding, Raymond, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Raymond?
I love you. I'm hanging in there. I love you in a non-sexual way, but I'd like to get this out real quick. Woodstock, right? They said that all these drugs that these people were taking wouldn't be an issue, but look at today. Look at the environment that it created. Another thing is, who voted for this? I don't think anybody in Massachusetts, left or right, voted for more taxes or, hey, I can't drive my car down the street. I think we really need to get everybody together and just start pulling people out of office. That's the only way it's going to be done. You can't impeach anybody. Nothing will happen. You have to actually, boots on the ground, get the signatures, stop pulling people out of office that do not belong there.
Raymond, I agree with you completely. I would add one other thing. We've got to start voting in much bigger numbers. And we've got to vote in not just, every 4 years or we've got to vote in, state races, local elections. We just got to start voting more. We've got to get more active. Because it's not just coming from, yes, it's the Democrats, yes, it's, as I've said, it's AOC and Bernie and and Kamala and the National Democrats. But this is coming from Beacon Hill. This is coming from state senators, state reps, from governors, from mayors, from city council members. They're hitting us left, right, and center. Now, we expose them, we're going to win, but we've got to expose them and we've got to vote. Final word to you, Raymond.
Even if you expose them, you cannot embarrass these type of people. They do not care. There's nothing. If you expose them, it doesn't matter. You really just got to get them out of office. We got to remember there's more of us than them, and that's the way it's got to work.
Raymond, have a wonderful weekend. Outstanding point. Ann in Milton, thanks for holding, Ann, and welcome.
I have I'm not as pessimistic as you are because of what happened with the election with Trump, because all the kids that went through this COVID, they're going to change this world. They're going to change the way we operate things, okay? I can't say enough about the kids coming up, the 20-year-olds now, because they get it. They've been through a crisis. The generation before never went through a crisis. We went through the Vietnam War. We went through all kinds of issues with the economy. We went through Carter. We went through the gas thing. They never had this in their lifetime. So the ones that are 30 now really don't have any frame of reference, but the younger ones get it. COVID did it to them. They get it. They understand how these people can control their lives. I drive 50,000 miles a year, real estate appraiser, and during COVID, I was essential personnel. I don't know why, okay, but I was. And it totally blows my mind that, nurses couldn't go to the hospital without a shot. I never got the shot, and I could go into people's homes.
Incredible. And I got to say, I do agree with you. And I'm not just saying this because it's my Ashton. You may say, well, he's influenced by his father. No, I hear him when he plays video games. Long story short, they use Bluetooth. So he's got a lot of friends in Kentucky, in California, across the country. And they play these video games together. And Ashton shares my office. We call it our man cave. So he's on one side, I'm on the other side. So I'm often show prepping, working. Long story short, I can hear him with his friends. And you're right. They're very libertarian. They don't like what happened to them under COVID. They really don't. They distrust the government. They don't like regulations. They don't like control. They value their privacy. They value their freedom. So I agree with you, Ann. I think that the much younger generation that went through all of the authoritarianism of the COVID regime, they don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. Joining us now, as she always does at this time, she is the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services. And yes, that is her wonderful name, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. When it comes to retirement, confidence should not be reserved for just one generation. Some of you are nearly there, some are just getting started, and some, well, you may not be sure where to begin. No matter where you stand, you deserve peace of mind. Our Kelly advisors are fiduciaries, which means they're legally and ethically bound to act in your best interest always. Whether it's baby boomers, Gen Xers, or millennials, at Kelly Financial, we help create everyone a retirement plan that's not just about numbers, but about your lifestyle, your goals, and the future you want. Retirement should not feel out of reach. With the right guidance, it can be smooth, clear, and even inspiring. Let's get you ready with confidence. To speak with a Kelly advisor, give us a call or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Jeff, I will continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or go to our website for our radio rewind. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. My best to Grace and the kiddos.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a wonderful weekend. Please give my best to everyone at Kelly Financial, Kuhner Country. If you want to get a free copy of their investor guide or make a free retirement consultation with a Kelly advisor, call 888-800-1881, 888-800-1881, or you can actually email Kelly herself personally, kelly@kellyfinancial.org. That's kelly@kellyfinancial.org. 9:34 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. This is from 617. And this is the point I've been trying to make since the show began today at 6 in the morning. This is not just a Massachusetts thing. Oh, as the French say, au contraire, on the contrary. So this is from 603. Jeff, Maryland, Michigan, Illinois are all proposing the same sort of mileage tax or a penalty or fine if you drive over a certain allocated number of miles in your car. California and Washington State as well. So it's not just the Democrats, the Green New Deal at the national level, and it's not just the crazy moonbats in this state. It's the moonbats in state after state after state. So it's clear, and in a way, when you think about it, it's nuts. The solution to so-called quote-unquote climate change is to tax us to oblivion. That's really what they're saying. So it's, well, how are you going to stop climate change? Well, we're just going to tax you, and then eventually take away your car. And then we're going to force you to take ride a bike or walk or get on some train, and we're going to force you to live in this little, 500-foot apartment. That's the goal in a 15-minute city. Now, so they want to make America a third world banana republic. And remember, this goes all the way back to Obama. The jealousy that he had for the United States, for the West, his father, the resentment he had. Why are we living in huts in Kenya or across the third world? Why? In Africa, in the Middle East, in the Muslim world. Why? We have to grow, we're on bikes. We have to walk everywhere. We don't have the beautiful roads and the highways and the factories and the office buildings and the suburbs and the big beautiful cars that Americans have. Well, take away our cars, take away our industry, take away our prosperity, and control us from the cradle to the grave. 617-266-6868. Steve in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, Steve.
So they're looking also to control how you make a living as well. What is a multi-state traveling sales representative supposed to do? I travel, I put on anywhere between 35 to 50,000 miles a year visiting different states. How am I supposed to address this bill if I'm limited in my mileage? So, and as an independent sales representative, you pay all your expenses along the way. So I pay the toll, which on certain days can be as much as $60 to $65 in just road tolls alone. You're paying your fuel, you're paying for your hotel, all your expenses. And then to throw on a tax like this, it just goes and puts people like myself out of business because you just cannot sustain the outlay of taxes and money that you'll have to lay out to just make your living the way you choose to do it.
Well, I think, Steve, you put your finger on it. They want to control even how we work, what jobs are available, what jobs we can do, what jobs we can't do. And Steve, not to pile on, not to pour more gasoline on the fire, but, in a way, and again, I'm against all of these taxes, don't get me wrong, but I wish it was a mileage tax. What she's proposing, this crazy Senate Majority Leader, Cynthia Cream, is massive fines and penalties if you go over the daily limit. In other words, hundreds of dollars for every single mile that you go over every day. So it's not even like, they'll tax you $15 a day or $20 a day or, in other words, another massive toll just for the privilege of driving, to break your back, to go to work so you can pay taxes and feed your family. No, they want to hammer you with mega fines and mega penalties. So, again, Steve, you see it everywhere in the world. Okay, you see it Europe, it's very pronounced. This is a war on the middle class. This is a war. And Germany has now almost destroyed its middle class. England now, its middle class in front of our eyes, it's vanishing. There is no more middle working class. It's mass impoverishment. And that's what the essence of Biden's presidency, in a nutshell, if you noticed, it was to destroy the middle and working class. And had Kamala won in 2024, they would have achieved it. That was their goal. And that's communism. You have very few people at the top who are extremely wealthy. They have all the power in their hands. And everybody else is dirt poor and dependent upon them. Steve, final word.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but it is a control tactic, and I just don't see how that people can live under this, controlling how many miles you drive, where you can drive to, and again, it does curtail a good amount of people who travel for a living.
Oh, you're an independent salesman. You're finished. You're a real estate agent. You're finished. I could go on and on. You're an Uber driver. I could go on and on. In other words, if you're anyone of an entrepreneurial, self-starting bent, you're finished. And I'm telling you, the end goal is they want to own all the businesses. That's really their end goal. They think, and they're so arrogant. Again, it's like, that's why I talked about the African National Congress, the ANC, in South Africa. No, they know how to farm better than the farmers. So they think they know how to run a business better than a businessman or an entrepreneur. They know better than we do. Steve, my bad. Steve, dynamite call. You are completely right. Look, this bill has to go down. The Green New Deal overall has to go down. And we've got to tell these Democrats enough is enough. But make no mistake about it, this is now a full-blown communist party. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you know I always say I'm the Rodney Dangerfield of talk radio. I get no respect. You know, as he always famously said, I get no respect. So, this is my wonderful sister, my younger sister, Jen, who lives out in Tucson, Arizona. And, you know, always taking a dig at her older brother. Oh, nothing makes her happier than to just stick it to the Kuhner man. So she texted this on my phone, 10 minutes ago, 9:39 a.m. Oh, look at you. You're just quoting all the nationalities today, huh? The Germans say this, the French say this. You're just the international man of mystery with 3 laughing emojis. Then she goes on after, of course, she got her shot in there. Then she goes on, Jeff, this new generation, like my kids, order ice cream, and this is true, because my Ashton and Eva do the exact same thing. They order ice cream on DoorDash and Uber Eats. Trust me, the young generation will not stand for any of this. They just don't realize it yet and the real impact. No, it's true. Think about it. I mean, they need customer service. They're so used to, you know, the personal freedom and prosperity. They can't even, you know, I don't know, walk to the corner store to get to get an ice cream cone. It's all DoorDash, Uber Eats. You think they're going to live without a car? Or you're going to limit how many miles they can drive? Yeah, I don't think so. And then my sister finishes with this. Jeff, I actually really hope that the Dems push this hard. We've just guaranteed, if not another Trump term, another J.D. Vance term. In other words, we just guaranteed MAGA for another 4 years. Betty in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Betty, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Betty?
Good, Jeff. I think this is just crazy. It's insanity. I think Cynthia and all these elites, I think they need a hug. I don't know if they were ever hugged before. I mean, I honestly think these power-hungry control freaks, I mean, you remember in 2016 when Trump won, they all thought it was okay and, you know, to pet a pony and to have a pizza party and all this, Jeff. It's totally insane. And, you know, when you said earlier in the show, when they keep chasing and it's more and more and more, it's never enough. And it does end up very empty. And I think it's never enough. I think the power card is all they have left to give, you know, to give themselves any type of purpose. And, you know, I want to know what's going on with the Republicans. I was at a party for the GOP last night, and here we are, and we're talking about past people who are governor, lieutenant governor. I'm like, where is one word about our Republican president? Hip, hip, hooray. I mean, it was crazy. It was insane. So, you know, I'm just kind of getting my feet wet into politics, but I thought that was a huge miss, and I think it was a huge, it was so telling about where we are in Massachusetts.
Betty, just to back up a little bit, I just want to make sure the audience is crystal clear on what you're saying. So you were at a Republican event yesterday, and you're saying that the mass Republican Party, the mass GOP, had nothing to say about Donald Trump?
Nope. Nothing. And it was about, you know, how we are changing as a Republican Party. And, you know, there's some really good ones in there. I'm just getting into this. But you can see how it's just how tough it is to change. They can't even say the guy's name. And I wish I thought about it earlier, because I would have said, hey, can we have 3 cheers for Donald Trump? We are in Massachusetts. Is this really happening? Like, can we just say his name and what an amazing job he's doing? But it just shows you how stuck in how, I guess, uninterested maybe they are into making changes in Massachusetts.
Betty, you nailed it. Thank you very much for that call. They're running away from one of the greatest, if not the greatest president we've ever had in over 100 years. That's the Massachusetts Republican Party for you. You can't, I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel. And as always, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure,
Jeff.
Mel.
Thank you. Jeff, last I knew, this was the land of the free, not to mention the home of the brave. And for them to think that we're going to I know I'm not going to sit back and take this nonsense. You come trying to tell me how I'm going to live my life. You got a big, big problem. And it's about, we have met the enemy and he is us. If we don't stand up and fight these sons of beehives to our very last breath, most of all theirs, because I know they can't stand up against the hard-working man of this country. These kinds of people don't even know how to bait a fish hook, let alone load a rifle. So, Jeff, you want to come talk to me, you're going to be talking to my two best friends, Smith and Wesson. And I ain't afraid to say it. I'm 67 years old. I ain't got that far to go. So I'm just telling if they're out there listening, keep pushing. Keep pushing the envelope because it ain't going to work out too good for you. I know there's plenty of good old boys out here that feel the same way. We're not going to take this. So just keep pushing. You're going to find out what's going to happen. Thank you, Jeff. You have a great weekend.
Thank you, and have a great weekend, Mel. Honestly, you're a great patriot. God bless you. No, look, I'm telling you, they're cutting their own political throats. That's what the Democrats are doing. And that's why, in a way, I want AOC to be the face of the party. Please. Because I'm telling you, let her push her left-wing lunacy. Keep going. You're never going to win another election again. Bye-bye.